As we know, as of recent, TikTok may be banned by January 19th or 20th around there, but
Some breaking news now crossing the
what's going to
wire.
happen?
The TikTok ban was upheld by an appeals court here in the United States. TikTok's Chinese parent company facing a ban in the U.S. if it does not meet a January 19th deadline to sell the video sharing app. This is part of a federal appeals court ruling
If it
coming
gets
through
sold to
here
the U.S., doesn't
on
that mean
Friday.
the
The
U.S.
company
has
likely
control
to
of
issue another appeal here. They
everything
do
that
have
TikTok
until
does?
January to divest or
Even
get
though
banned
TikTok
from the
has a
United
headquarters
States.
here in the
Incoming
U.S.?
President Trump has waffled on this issue. He did support a TikTok ban due to national security challenges. But one of his biggest donors, Jeff Yass, is a TikTok investor. Following a meeting that the two had in Mar-a-Lago, we did see Trump changing his mind on a TikTok ban, though it's currently unclear what he'll be able to do to kind of change the political appetite for this ban moving forward, because this has had significant bipartisan support in Congress. And of course, we do have this news crossing the wire now. TikTok facing that ban in the United States. The appeals court refusing to block that law, Sean.
Yeah, and
Doesn't that mean if Facebook, for example, because it's here from the U.S. and it's causing a problem in other countries, they should be able to block and ban the app from being used, right? Unless, let's say, I don't know, what's a good country? Let's say the UK, right? UK and Wales. Let's say they buy out Facebook, then what, right? So
I think the incoming Trump administration, like you were just
unless
saying,
I'm
Maddie,
missing
is a real
something.
question mark in the room right now, because this ban would go in effect the day before Trump assumes office. But then, of course, his opposition to this ban kind of puts many of these questions back on the table, just exactly how his opposition, could potentially complicate this measure and the enforcement that we could see going forward. We know, like you were just saying, he did flip after one of the top donors there, an investor in TikTok, also was trying to court some of those younger voters. We know younger voters, the younger population, obviously spending more and more of their time on TikTok, a very popular social.
Which, by the way, is technically on the parents. So if the parents say, "Oh, it needs to be banned," well, you control how much your kid does something, not the other way around.
Social media app there for their outlets. So again, that was a critical issue, or one of the issues, I should say, that was discussed on the campaign trail by President-elect Trump here over the last several months. And again, when you take into account that TikTok now facing this ban, and we were talking to Rohit Kulkarni last hour, an analyst in the social media space, just about ultimately what this means here for some of the other companies within the space. He very much told us that Meta is well positioned because of this. Snap will likely see a move to the upside. I'm trying to pull up what the reactions are in their stocks right now. But again, we could potentially see some movement to the upside in that trade. You have Snap actually spiking on this news off the highs of the morning, but still up just about 2.5%. So again, just
I'm sorry, but did it just seem like that she was just spitting out words that had nothing to do with what
showing
was
some
going
of that
on?
playing out here on the street. You have some of the other names up on your screen right now. Meta's also up just about 2.5%, right around the highs of the session here. So again, although there remains questions about how this is going to be implemented, just in terms of what exactly that
No
is going
offense
to
to her,
look
but
like under
to me, it just seemed
the
like that.
incoming Trump administration and the likely enforcement there, we are seeing some of these social media stocks here move on the heels of this.
We're also seeing Amazon up today, and you were smart to bring this up, Shauna. The idea that TikTok Shop, they tripled their Black Friday sales this season compared to previous years. Amazon, the large tech company, is already moving up off the back of that jobs print, but we're still seeing significant moves to the upside here, as Amazon could be an e-commerce beneficiary as well. If TikTok were to be banned in the United States, that e-commerce flow going into a company like Amazon. Joining us more for the broader impact here on tech, more broadly, we've got Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley standing by. Dan, what stands out to you about this news?
Yeah, Maddie, I think the main thing to take into account is this isn't the end of this conversation by a long shot. This is likely going to go to the Supreme Court, where it'll be meted out in some way, whether it's a full ban or not. I think TikTok will continue to try to argue the First Amendment side of things. But as far as the broader tech industry, I mean, you were talking about the numbers for the companies Meta, Snap, Amazon. This kind of just benefits them so much. Meta has been fighting
I do have a
to
comment
make
about this. I
Instagram
have
more
two
relevant
comments, actually. Let's
with
see if I
younger
can
users
remember it.
who are on TikTok. And they've done a very good job of that with their Reels. They regularly talk about Reels during their earnings calls. They
Facebook
regularly
Reels
talk
and
about how
Instagram
AI
Reels,
is
yeah.
enhancing that. That's the meat and potatoes of TikTok, right? It's the algorithm that keeps feeding you those short form videos. And so Meta's done essentially what it did to Snap and others by kind of copying that whole format and done it very well. And so they've seen improvements there. Without TikTok, you can only imagine that creators are either going to go to Meta and work on Instagram and Reels and,
let's see if I
bring their
remember 3.
followings along with them, or they would move to something like YouTube and work with YouTube Shorts, something along those lines. So this would be a huge boon for Meta itself. Then there's obviously Snap, a app that's more popular with younger users, though. I mean, it doesn't really make the waves that it did when it originally came out. That could also see a jump just because of the kids looking for a place to go that their uncles or whatever aren't hanging out on. And then there's the idea of the e-commerce side, as you talked about with Amazon. There's TikTok influencers, there's Instagram influencers. They both sell, and then Amazon obviously wanting to hold on to as much of e-commerce as they want. They're going to potentially try to jump in here now and be a place where some of those influencers are. And so, I think it's also worth pointing out, as I said, you have the Instagram influencers with sales as well. I'm 39. A bunch of people in my cohort I talk to regularly say that they buy things from Instagram ads, and so you can imagine that could pick up if TikTok isn't there with the younger generations. I think it does open up for maybe potentially a new entrant in the field, but I think as far as the established players, it really is Meta that's going to benefit the most here. But as I said, this is not the end of this conversation by a long shot.
It's not the end of the conversation.
So one, if they're banning TikTok, and that means anyone who's on it is not going to be allowed to go on it anymore. Technically, anyone who's, again, I've never talked about politics on anything I ever do, because I hate politics with a passion. Not my cup of tea. But anyone who's in office, anyone who will be in office, anyone who has been in office, right? Technically, they're getting rid of people who follow them. Same thing if Twitter were to go away, Facebook were to go away, Instagram, Snapchat. Any one of those 5, TikTok included, that were to be banned, technically you lose anyone who's trying to keep up with you, right? So is this really going to benefit the US or even anyone who has this app, or is it going to really take an effect and make people realize, hey, maybe I don't want to vote for this person or whatever? I think it's going to be a game changer, but it's going to be for the worse instead of the better.
Conversation, but over at Bloomberg Intelligence, Matthew Shettleman's seen a 7.
When you have too much control, this is what happens. When you have too much control, you end up taking things into your hands and banning a lot of things that you shouldn't, which then in turn make a worse impact for the economy, which then hurts, and then it's a whole circle of life.
20% chance that TikTok loses the DC Circuit ruling.
As people who are making money off of the app,
likelihood that the company is going to make a last-ditch plea to the Supreme Court to pause that January 19th deadline. Dan, thanks so much for joining us here. We appreciate it. We're going to talk about the market reaction to this news. Again, TikTok facing that ban in the United States here after appeals court refusing to block a law on this. And it's really interesting because the Magnificent Seven.
And besides that, technically, when we're buying stuff off the internet, we're buying things that are being made and shipped from overseas. And doesn't that mean that we should not be buying anything from overseas? We should be buying everything made within the U.S., but how much is actually made within the U.S.?
Stocks, they've already been up about 65% year to date. We've seen a 4% rally, I believe, over the last couple of days, already hitting a fresh record yesterday. And then you've got this news on top of it, adding to a bit of that rally. The likes of NVIDIA actually down right now, but every other name in the Mag 7 moving to the upside, especially those that are beneficiaries of this potential ban.
Yeah, we talked to so many strategists, even this morning, talking about how critical critical it is for tech to retain and maintain its momentum here going forward into 2025 if we want to continue to see this risk on sentiment that we certainly have seen in the market, to say the least, over the last several months and several years. So again, when you see a ruling like this, obviously lots of questions just about what exactly this is going to mean here. The fact that TikTok now facing that U.S. ban after the appeals court did refuse to block the law. Questions about whether or not it's going to be, or I guess how strictly it will be enforced is a better way to put that here under the incoming Trump administration. But again, when you see some of that excitement playing out on the street here this morning across some of those mega cap tech names, given the size of it, given their influence that they do have on the market, given the massive run that we have seen over the last couple of years, it does point just in terms of that, or adds to the overall bullish sentiment that we have been hearing from strategists entering the new year. And I think kind of ups the chances, or ups the confidence, I should say, just that we could see more highs or more of that movement to the upside here in the coming.
So I think the other issue becomes is that those who only post to one platform is a problem, because you should be posting to pretty much any platform possible: Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. If you're posting to all four, even if one goes away, you still have the other three, right? If two of them go away, you have the other two. If three go away, you still have one, right? So you should be posting to all platforms instead of just sticking to one, because then you start to panic, right? YouTube, it actually, it wasn't even YouTube. It was initially MySpace, then it was Tumblr, then YouTube. So technically, but no one uses MySpace anymore. Tumblr, hit or miss, but YouTube is kind of like the godfather of posting content too, and people who are not posting on there are losing out, and they don't realize it until it's too late. So what is TikTok going to do? It's going to be a big problem if it gets banned, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. I don't want it to be banned. I don't really want anything ever to be gone, because it should be for the greater good. I could be spitballing here, but I'm just putting it out there. This app that goes away is going to affect everyone, including those who are currently up in the higher ups. So let's have to wait and see.